Hello, miladies of inestimable value. Trust is like glass. Once broken, even if you fix it, the cracks remain. Now, Sigma females don't even let it get to that point. Why? Because they don't trust anyone to begin with. They'll help you, guide you, maybe even save your life. But let you into their inner world? Not a chance. Here's a brutal fact. Studies show that most people overestimate their own honesty and reliability. In simple terms, people think they're more trustworthy than they actually are. And Sigma females? They see through that illusion like it's printed on cheap, transparent plastic. They've watched trust get treated like a disposable commodity, given out freely, broken carelessly, and apologized for with empty words. So instead of setting themselves up for disappointment, they opt out entirely. But here's where it gets interesting. Even though they trust no one, they're the first to step in when someone needs help. They'll be the voice of reason in your chaos, the strategist in your mess, the one who sees solutions before you even realize there's a problem. And yet, the moment you think you formed a bond with them, you'll realize you know absolutely nothing about them. So why do they operate like this? Why extend a hand while keeping their walls sky high? The answer lies in a mix of intelligence, survival instinct, and a sharp understanding of human nature that most people will never reach. Buckle up, because this is about to get real. Number 1. They use trust as a test, not a foundation. Sigma females don't start relationships by blindly handing over trust like some emotional free trial. They don't operate on wishful thinking or gut feelings when it comes to people. They operate on proof. For them, trust isn't the foundation of a connection. It's the test that determines whether one should exist in the first place. Most people assume trust is something you give first and then hope it's not broken. Sigma females flip the script entirely. They don't trust to build a relationship. They test to see if a relationship is even worth having. They'll drop small, seemingly insignificant pieces of information. Nothing personal, nothing that could ever hurt them, but just enough to observe how someone handles it. Maybe it's a minor preference, an unimportant detail, or even a fabricated piece of trivia just to see what happens. And then they wait. Does the person guard it, respect it, or does it mysteriously make its way back to others? If it does, they immediately know that person is not to be trusted. And if it doesn't, well, that person has just passed level 1. This calculated approach isn't paranoia, it's precision. Sigma females know that most betrayals don't happen through grand dramatic moments, but through subtle breaches. It's the casual slip of the tongue, the minor exaggeration, the way someone talks about others when they think no one is paying attention. They don't need to confront people directly to know who they are. They let people reveal themselves, one small test at a time. Even when someone seems to pass, Sigma females never fully lower their guard. People change, circumstances shift, and loyalty has an expiration date for most. They remain vigilant, always observing, always recalibrating. Trust for them is like a security clearance, given only in layers, earned through consistency, and revoked at the slightest sign of compromise. And if someone doesn't like being tested, that in itself is a red flag, because anyone who's truly trustworthy has nothing to fear. Number 2, they know that trust is the easiest way to be controlled. Trust is supposed to be a good thing, right? A sign of strong relationships and mutual respect. Sigma females know better. They've seen how trust is turned into a leash, how the moment you trust the wrong person, you give them the power to pull you in any direction they want. And they are not about to be anyone's puppet. People weaponize trust in the most subtle ways. They use it to guilt trip, manipulate, or trap you in obligations you never agreed to. "But I thought you trusted me," is a classic line used to push boundaries, silence doubts, or get away with things they shouldn't. And the moment someone starts throwing trust around like a bargaining chip, Sigma females see it for what it is, a control tactic. They've watched others fall into this trap, believing that trust should be given freely, only to be exploited. They've seen people hand over their secrets, their loyalty, their vulnerabilities, only to watch them be used against them when it's most convenient. That's why Sigma females don't take the bait. They don't operate on emotional debts, and they don't believe that trust is some mandatory social currency. If someone tries to make them feel bad for not blindly trusting, that's all the proof they need to never trust them at all. It's not paranoia, it's self-preservation. They don't trust because they refuse to be played. If they let their guard down, they make sure it's on their own terms, slowly, cautiously, and only after someone has proven beyond a doubt that they are safe. Until then, they keep their cards close, their minds sharp, and their independence intact. Because at the end of the day, trust is not a gift, it's a risk. And Sigma females don't take risks they can't afford to lose. Number 3. They've been the strong one for too long. Sigma females didn't wake up one day and decide to stop trusting people. It wasn't some dramatic vow of independence, it was survival. They've spent years being the strong one, the reliable one, the one who always knows what to do. People flock to them for advice, support, and reassurance, drawn to their wisdom like moths to a flame. But when the roles are reversed, when a Sigma female needs support for once, that's when the truth hits hard. They've learned the painful way that most people love to take but rarely know how to give. They'll pour themselves into others, be the problem solvers, the anchors, the ones who never waver. But when they finally reach a breaking point, they're met with either half-hearted concern or complete disinterest. Suddenly the people who depended on them so much are too busy, too clueless, or simply uninterested in returning the favor. And that realization changes everything. Experience has taught them that self-reliance isn't just a preference, it's the only real security they have. They've been let down too many times to believe otherwise. It's not that they don't want to trust, it's that they can't afford to. They know that most people only offer surface-level loyalty, the kind that disappears when things get uncomfortable or inconvenient. So instead of waiting around for someone to prove them wrong, they just stop expecting anything in the first place. This doesn't make them cold or bitter. It makes them realistic. They'll still be there for others, still offer guidance, still be the strong, steady force people rely on. But when it comes to their own struggles, they don't waste time hoping for support that will never come. They've mastered the art of standing alone, because the one person they can always count on is themselves. Number 4. They don't mistake kindness for loyalty. Sigma females have no illusions about the way people operate. They've seen it all. The ones who act grateful in the moment but vanish when the tables turn. The ones who take and take with no intention of ever giving back. The ones who swear loyalty but fold under the slightest pressure. They don't mistake a thank you for true loyalty, and they certainly don't believe that kindness guarantees anything in return. They help because they can, not because they're expecting some cosmic balance of favors. They know that most people are transactional by nature. If there's nothing in it for them, they won't lift a finger. But Sigma females, they don't operate that way. Their help isn't a bargaining chip, it's a choice. They offer it freely, without expectation, because they've detached themselves from the naive belief that people will return the favor. And honestly, that's what makes them so dangerous. Most people help with an unspoken condition, that at some point, they'll need something back. When that expectation is shattered, they feel bitter, resentful, even betrayed. Sigma females never put themselves in that position. They already know how the game works. They see the patterns, they know who's likely to disappear, and they make their peace with it before they even extend a hand. But don't mistake their generosity for softness. The moment someone starts assuming they owe them something, that's when the Sigma female cuts them off entirely. Because while they don't expect anything in return, they also don't tolerate entitlement. They'll help you if they want to, not because you think they should. And that's the difference. Number 5. They know that most people lack self-awareness. Most people have no clue why they do what they do. They think they're making conscious decisions, but in reality they're just reacting, acting out patterns they don't even recognize. They say things they don't mean, make promises they can't keep, and betray others without fully understanding why. And that's exactly why Sigma females don't trust anyone. They know that most people aren't even aware of their own intentions, so how could they possibly be reliable? Trusting someone means assuming they know themselves well enough to act with integrity. But Sigma females have observed that most people don't operate with self-awareness. They operate with impulse, emotion, and convenience. One moment they swear loyalty, the next they betray. Not necessarily because they're evil, but because they don't even recognize their own contradictions. They genuinely believe their own words in the moment, but that moment is fleeting. Sigma females don't buy into it. They've watched people shift their morals based on circumstances, friendships dissolve over trivial misunderstandings, and so-called good people justify terrible behavior when it suits them. If a person doesn't truly know themselves, their word means nothing. Most people aren't liars in the traditional sense. They're just strangers to their own minds. They overestimate their ability to be loyal, they underestimate their capacity for selfishness, and they assume they'd never do something they've never been tested on. But Sigma females see through that illusion. They don't take words at face value. They analyze patterns, behaviors, and inconsistencies. They don't care what someone promises in a moment of sincerity. They care about whether that promise will still stand when things get difficult. This is why Sigma females help people but don't trust them. They can extend kindness without expectation, offer wisdom without attachment, and provide support without relying on anyone in return. They don't need to trust people to be good to them because they don't base their actions on blind faith. They help because they choose to, not because they believe in some unspoken bond of trust that could shatter at any moment. It's not cynicism, it's clarity. Sigma females don't resent people for lacking self-awareness. They just refuse to risk their own emotional stability on someone who doesn't even know their own mind. Number 6. They understand that emotional independence is their biggest weapon. Sigma females have mastered the one thing that terrifies manipulators, deceivers, and emotional leeches the most: true emotional independence. They don't need people in the way most do. Sure, they enjoy good company when it aligns with their peace, and they appreciate deep conversations with those who can keep up. But need? That's a foreign concept to them. They've built themselves in a way that no betrayal, no rejection, and no disappointment can truly shake them. And that's what makes them untouchable. The moment someone trusts too easily, they hand over power without realizing it. Trust is what allows people to be manipulated, hurt, and broken. It's what makes people ignore red flags, stay in toxic situations, and tolerate disrespect in the name of loyalty. Sigma females refuse to play that game. They don't trust as a default setting. They observe, they test, and even when someone passes, they never hand over the keys to their emotional stability. No one gets to hold that kind of power over them. This isn't about paranoia, it's about control. The world is filled with people who operate on deception, self-interest, and shifting loyalties. Sigma females don't take it personally, they just prepare accordingly. They don't set themselves up for betrayal because they never put themselves in a position where betrayal would matter. You can't break someone who doesn't rely on you. You can't manipulate someone who doesn't seek your validation. And you definitely can't control someone who has already decided that their well-being is their own responsibility. Most people get hurt because they invest in the wrong people. They trust blindly, expecting others to be as honest or loyal as they are. When reality hits, they crumble. Sigma females don't crumble. They operate with the cold, clear understanding that people are unpredictable, that loyalty has an expiration date for most, and that the only person they can ever fully rely on is themselves. By eliminating the illusion that trust is a necessity, they unlock a level of freedom most people will never experience. They don't live in fear of betrayal because they've already accepted that they trust no one. And when you trust no one can ever truly hurt you. Number 7. They help because it reinforces their self-mastery. Sigma females don't help others because they expect gratitude, loyalty, or favors in return. That kind of thinking is for people who rely on external validation to feel good about themselves. Sigma females operate on a different level entirely. Their motivation for helping isn't tied to trust, obligation, or social norms. It's about reinforcing their own mastery over their emotions, actions, and personal philosophy. For them, helping others is a controlled act of strength, a reminder that they are in charge of their choices. They don't do it because they believe in the goodness of humanity or because they expect people to suddenly become trustworthy. In fact, they already assume that most people will take their help and disappear, never to return the favor. And they're perfectly fine with that. Why? Because their self-worth doesn't depend on anyone else. They give because they choose to, not because they need to. Trust, on the other hand, is a different story. That's a gamble they have no interest in playing. Trust means surrendering a piece of control to someone else, and Sigma females don't hand over control. Not over their emotions, their security, or their peace of mind. They've seen how trust has been used to manipulate, betray, and control others, and they refuse to put themselves in that position. Helping others is a strength, but trusting others, that's a weakness they can't afford. The beauty of this mindset is that it keeps them completely independent. They're not weighed down by disappointment because they expect nothing. They're not emotionally blackmailed into situations they don't want to be in. They don't fall for the illusion that relationships must be built on blind faith. Instead, they remain untouchable, operating from a place of power rather than vulnerability. And in the end, that's what sets them apart. While others help in the hopes of building trust, Sigma females help as a statement of self-mastery. Trust isn't even part of the equation. Number 8. They analyze intentions before actions. Sigma females don't get fooled by surface-level actions, compliments, generosity, even grand gestures. None of it impresses them unless they understand the why behind it. They know that actions can be deceiving, that people often do things for reasons that have nothing to do with kindness or integrity. And this ability to see past the obvious makes them nearly impossible to manipulate. While most people judge others based on behavior alone, Sigma females dig deeper. They pay attention to tone, timing, patterns, and inconsistencies. They listen not just to words, but to what's left unsaid. If someone suddenly becomes overly helpful, they don't assume it's out of the goodness of their heart. They start looking for the hidden agenda. And more often than not, they're right. This unnerving ability makes manipulators deeply uncomfortable. Those who are used to getting their way through charm, guilt-tripping, or subtle coercion find themselves exposed under a Sigma female's scrutiny. Flattery doesn't work, sympathy ploys fall flat, and deception is spotted before it even has a chance to take root. Even the most cunning manipulators quickly realize that Sigma females are not easy targets. Their ability to read intentions also explains why they trust so few people. They've seen how often so-called good deeds come with strings attached, how people offer help only to use it as leverage later. They know that just because someone seems nice doesn't mean they are nice. So they don't trust easily, not because they're paranoid, but because they understand human nature better than most. This is why Sigma females are so hard to fool. You can perform all the right actions, say all the right things, and still not earn their trust, because they don't care about what you do nearly as much as why you're doing it. And if your intentions don't check out, nothing else matters. Number 9. They see how fake trust really is. Sigma females have no interest in illusions, and trust is one of the biggest ones they've ever seen. They've watched people swear loyalty with full conviction, only to turn their backs the second things get inconvenient. They've seen how easily people break promises, how quickly loyalty dissolves when tested by pressure, temptation, or personal gain. It's not even shocking to them anymore. It's just human nature. And because they understand this, they don't waste time investing in something that has proven itself to be fragile at best, non-existent at worst. For most people, trust is an emotional currency. They give it freely, hoping to receive the same in return. Sigma females, they see the flaw in that system. Trust, in their eyes, is just a temporary agreement, one that most people will break the moment circumstances change. They've seen so-called ride-or-die friendships crumble over petty conflicts. They've watched lovers swear they'd never hurt each other only to do exactly that. They've even seen family members betray their own blood when the stakes were high enough. So why would they place their security in something so unreliable? This doesn't make them bitter or resentful, it makes them strategic. They don't go around assuming everyone is out to get them, nor do they waste energy feeling betrayed when people show their true colors. Instead, they operate with a quiet detachment, never expecting trust to last forever. They can enjoy relationships, connections, and conversations, but all while knowing that trust is conditional for most people. That's why Sigma females never fully rely on anyone but themselves. They don't seek guarantees from others because they know none exist. They move through life understanding that trust is only as strong as the circumstances allow it to be. And when those circumstances shift, as they always do, they won't be the ones left shattered. They'll simply nod, having expected it all along, and keep moving forward, unaffected and untouchable. Number 10. They don't believe in permanent alliances. Sigma females don't live in a fantasy where friendships and relationships last forever. They've seen how quickly alliances shift when circumstances change. Someone who once swore loyalty can flip the moment it's convenient, and the person who once had their back might suddenly have a knife in hand. It's not paranoia, it's pattern recognition. They've watched enough people abandon, betray, or turn on others when situations no longer benefit them, so they refuse to be naive about it. They understand that most relationships, no matter how deep they seem, are built on unspoken transactions. People are drawn to those who provide value, whether it's emotional support, status, or opportunities. The moment that value changes or disappears, so does the so-called connection. Sigma females don't take this personally. It's just how human nature works. They can be friendly, supportive, and even deeply involved with people, but they never mistake connections for something unbreakable. This is why they never fully let their guard down. They know that trust makes people predictable, and predictability makes people easy to control. The less others know about their weaknesses, fears, and deepest thoughts, the less they can be manipulated. While others get blindsided by betrayals, Sigma females remain steps ahead, already prepared for the possibility that even the closest bonds can break. They move through life with quiet detachment, enjoying relationships while they last but never becoming dependent on them. If someone leaves, betrays, or switches sides, it doesn't shake them. They expected it. And that's exactly why they can walk away from any situation, any person, and any alliance without losing themselves in the process. Trust is a fragile illusion, one that Sigma females refuse to gamble with. They've seen how easily it shatters, how quickly people shift when it suits them, and how loyalty often lasts only as long as it's convenient. That's why they don't build their world around it. Instead, they choose something far stronger: self-reliance. They help not because they expect anything back, but because they can. They analyze intentions before actions, making them impossible to deceive. They remain emotionally independent, untouchable by betrayal, manipulation, or disappointment. This isn't cynicism, it's strategy. Sigma females don't waste time hoping people will be better than they've proven to be. They see the patterns, they understand human nature, and they adjust accordingly. They know that trust is the easiest way to be controlled, and they refuse to hand over that kind of power. In a world where people get broken by misplaced faith in others, Sigma females remain unbreakable. Not because they're cold, but because they've chosen something far more valuable than trust: unshakable control over their own lives. If this breakdown of the Sigma female mindset hit different, then you already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button and join a community that sees the world for what it really is. Don't forget to like the video. It lets us know you want more of this raw, no-nonsense content. And if you've got thoughts, drop them in the comments. Let's hear what you think. Finally, share this with someone who needs a wake-up call. Trust wisely, move strategically, and I'll see you in the next one.